Welcome to our information session today for our professional coaching program here at UC Davis. And we're talking about the winter cohort that will start in January, at the very end of January. And we're taking applications now up through December 16th. So welcome. Now, my name is Heather Ogle, and I'm the program manager. I've been managing this program for a few years. It's one of my favorite programs to manage. The students are amazing. You really meet amazing people in this field. And I was even really lucky enough to take the program myself back in 2020. So I know what amazing impact it can make in your career and your life. But enough about me, we're here for you. So this is your session, right? We're here to make sure that we get you the information that you need to compare and contrast and make your decision on finding a program that is the best fit for you. So keep that in mind. Throw out your questions as we go. We have the Q&A box. Throw your questions in there, and I'll try and keep an eye on that as we go so we can have sort of a more conversation style session rather than just sitting and watching a recording or something like that. So that Q&A box is there. So I introduced myself, and here are other members of the team. We have Christy Craig, who is our enrollment coach, and our associate director, Crystal Babawal. Christy Craig, if any of you have started to do research on the program or sent in questions, you may have already interacted with Christy. She's going to be your main point of contact in the beginning here as you ask questions and traverse the application process and enrolling in the program. She is your main gal. And so let me grab her contact info and throw it in the chat for those who might want to paste that somewhere. Let me grab it. There we go. So this will be incoming so that you have her contact info. And again, it'll be in the recording on these slides that you'll get tomorrow. All right. And then I'm going to kick off a poll here, and then I see there's a question already. So let me kick off the poll. This is just to get a little bit of an idea about your guys' background, what brought you here today. You know, we see a really great mix of people in the program, everything from total newbies they've never even experienced coaching themselves, but they had a friend who said, no, you should really check this out, to people who are already high-level internal coaches with IBM, Intel, but they'd like to get their ICF certification, which is something, if you don't recognize that acronym, we'll talk about it a little bit more. And so we have folks from all over who come and mix together, and it makes for this amazing cohort experience that you'll hear me mention a few times. While you guys are taking a look at that, let me look at our question. So we have a question, and it says, CTI uses the coactive approach to coaching. Do you use the same approach? How is it different or similar? Thanks so much. That's a great question. We'll absolutely go into some detail on how our program differs from other programs out there. But just to give you a little taste right off the bat, we are ICF based. So we are based off the core competencies that are defined by the ICF. And what that lets us do is create a base work of the skills that you can then take and use in any specific coaching field that you might want. So we'll go into that a little bit more on what that means for your experience in the program. So rather than coactive, because that belongs to CTI, we don't use coactive, but we teach the skills are going to be similar. The words are going to be similar, and then as well as other things that are defined by the ICF that we can talk about. So thank you for shooting that question to us. And then let's just take a look here. Looks like most people have told us we have a good mix. So we have some folks thinking about a career shift. Our biggest group of people, you are already coaching, but you'd like to get some formal training. Fantastic. That is why we're here. That was really one of our founding principles of our program directors, who I'll introduce in a second, was to create a program that legitimized the field and kept up with the credentials as set by, they ended up choosing the ICF as the credentialing society, but to really provide an academically rigorous program. So you are in the right place. Somebody suggested they look into coaching. This is fantastic. It happens all the time. And we have a group, I want to do meaningful work that aligns with my passion. It's such a coaching answer, and it's true. We have a lot of folks who may have worked in some really high-level careers or just never found anything that really clicked well with them. They come and they find coaching, and it really resonates with their core values for a career. So thanks so much for sharing those thoughts. Let's keep going. So here are our program directors. We have Carol Bennett, who is, she may be even an MCC by now. If you don't recognize those letters, PCC, that stands for Professional Certified Coach. That is an ICF credential. And I'll just say now, when I say ICF, what I mean is the International Federation, Coaching Federation. So many letters. And it is truly an international society set forth to bring specific standards to coaching. And so our program directors are certified within that body. And so Carol Bennett, she has her PCC, and she just recently got her PhD in adult learning. And so she brings some of that theory into the class, which was fantastic. And she is joined by Michelle Payne, who is an MCC, that means Master Certified Coach. So that's the highest level. You need thousands upon thousands of hours of practice to reach that level within the credentialing system. And they both have their own coaching programs, their own coaching companies. Word went away from me. Their own coaching companies, and then Carol also leads the internal coaching program at Sutter Health. So they both know a little bit about what it is to be an internal coach seated within an organization, and an external coach working with executives or personal coaching, life coaching, these kinds of things. They bring that experience. All right, so here's a quick look at the rest of our agenda. I'll talk a little bit about what it is that we mean when we say coaching. So there are a lot of different definitions out there. So I'll talk about exactly what we mean when we say coaching. We'll talk about our details of the program and our philosophy, sort of, again, how we differ from other programs. We'll look at the schedule. So what is it actually going to be like to be in the program? And then we'll look at this ICF. Some folks are interested in the ICF certification process, and some folks are not, and that is completely fine. It is something that we use to guide our education. And if you do our program, it sets you up really well to jump into that process, but it's not a requirement. We have plenty of people who finish the program and they're like, maybe I'll get to it eventually, maybe I won't. And then we have people who finish their practice hours within a month and they're getting that certification and they're ready to go. And so it's flexible, it's up to you. Then we'll talk about a few additional benefits that are associated with our program. Some of them because we are an academically vetted program by the campus of UC Davis. And then we have time for more questions if you didn't share them as we went along. All right, so another poll. This one is, have you ever had a coach before? And this one's really interesting because it's changed over the years. When we first started this program is 11, 12 years old now. The answer was no, just hands down, people had not experienced coaching. That's really changed now. Coaching has become a household word. Google has a suite of internal coaches. All of the large hospital companies have internal coaches, the tech companies. It's really become a recognized field. So we see a lot more people who have experienced coaching themselves. So let's take a look. Yeah, okay, about half of you say, yes, I have had coaching myself, or are already working with a coach right now, so that's fantastic. You get to be on the receiving side and know how helpful it really can be to have that partner, that conversation partner. And then we have the other half of you who say, no, I haven't been coached before, but I'd love the experience. It's fantastic because you are going to absolutely receive that experience in the program. From day one, you will start coaching each other. It might be a little scary, but that's why we're here, right? So truly what you're ending up with is not just an education in coaching, but 5 months of personal coaching and learning as you practice with your classmates and go through the program. All right, let's keep going. So I mentioned, I talked a little bit about what I mean by coaching. So we use the ICF definition of coaching, which is where you're really a thought partner with your client. You're not there to dictate to them what they should do or could do, or you're really there to help them tease out of their brain solutions that are already in there. And we take that approach because we know since we were children, you're much more likely to do something if you decide to do it than if you're told to, right? And the same applies when you're an adult. It's so much easier to make a change when you've worked your way to this idea that you're like, yeah, I think taking this path is what I want to do and will work for me, than having somebody just tell you, oh, you know what you should do? This is what you should do. Are there opportunities for that kind of conversation? Absolutely. We call that mentoring. There are mentors who have been there, done that, and they know, okay, here's what you should do. Make sure to do X, Y, and Z, and it'll set you up really well. That's really important in some circumstances, but that's not coaching. We have some other stuff here that is sometimes confused with coaching, and one of the number one things is therapy, right? Therapy and counseling. People say, you're not a trained therapist. How can you have these sort of conversations? Well, that's absolutely correct. And that's something you cover in the very first course. It's coaching ethics, and you discuss when it's time to refer to a different specialist. So the easiest way, most general way to say it is that coaching takes you from where you are here today in the present, holds you as a full, capable human being, and you move forward. You talk about what barriers are in front of you, and let's be creative and ask creative questions to really make you try and think in ways you haven't yet, to work out a way around those boundaries. Rather than, it's very simplified, but therapy is looking in the past. What has happened in your past that's preventing you from moving forward? And so that's a very simplified but easy way to look at a difference between what a coach would do, whereas a therapist is needed if you're looking in the past, or if somebody is showing symptoms of a medical disorder or something like that. So it's very important to recognize those things, and we absolutely cover them in one of your very first classes. All right, going to pause real quick, just check and see if there are any questions yet. Oh, yeah, okay. Okay, question about the program being online or in person. So we are still online. We went fully online after the pandemic, as a lot of things in the world did. However, we're still open to the idea of going back in person, because there's that, that people like the face-to-face, right? And as mentioned here in the question, really we want to relate in the networking opportunities and things like that. I will say that as soon as we went online, we started devising ways to try and compensate for the fact that you won't be standing with each other at the water fountain between classes or chatting over lunch. So we provide time before class starts. We call it a sort of a coffee hour or a coffee chat. You can come early if you like, and we put you in, we open a breakout room so you can go in and just say hi to your cohort and chat back and forth and get to know each other. You're going to get to know each other so much in this program because it's a very experiential program. That networking is going to happen organically, even though you're doing it through a camera. And I can speak from experience that when you're truly engaged in the material or coaching somebody, your brain forgets that the camera is there. But if you're a fully in-person, you're like, no, Heather, I really need to sit next to somebody, I need to whatever, then keep an eye on us. It's not planned for this coming year, but our technology is advancing, so maybe we can do something where some people come in person and some people can come online. We don't want to lose the online component because we've been able to reach so many more people from such a more diverse demographic. When we were just in Sacramento, California, we're just getting a little slice of Sacramento, California, and your occasional international student. So that's where we're at. No in-person for this coming year. If that's really important to you, you can keep an eye on us. We are trying to find ways to mix that back in, but I can, in all earnest, say that the camera falls away, the networking does happen, and you will make colleagues and friends who continue to meet year after year and maintain those cohort relationships. So back to where we are. On this slide, we're talking a little bit about what makes us different from other programs. So some programs like CTI or other life coaching or specifically executive coaching, there's really great specific health coaching out there by the Mayo Clinic. Those are already niched, right? They're already about a certain population. Our program is a fantastic place to start because we're based on the skills, the core foundational skills. Like if you were to learn basketball and be a great basketball player, no matter what your position is going to be, you need to be able to dribble, you need to be able to move those feet, and you need to be able to shoot, right? Like these are the core skills you need, and you'll want those skills to speak with children, to speak about health issues, to speak with executives. The skills are the same. So that's one thing that really makes us different from a lot of the other programs out there, because we're based on the core competencies of ICF. You're learning those skills. So you get a cohort of people who are interested in a variety of niches that they think they'll go out to and niche in, which means that you have, the more variety you have, the more learning there is. You learn from your cohort mates just as much as you do from our lectures. You know, it's really that diverse group of ages, races, ethnicities, careers, you name it, we've had it. And so because you can take those skills and then go out into any niche, that's one of the big keys that makes us different. Another question just came in: how many students? The students can range between 30 to 50. And when we have that higher number, closer to 50, we make sure to have 2 people in the room with you, in the virtual room, because we really know that it's important that you're able to participate in the discussions and have someone that you can reach out to for questions, these sorts of things. So it's important to us that you still have the right amount of support and these kinds of things. So we cap it at 50. We're not going to go any higher than 50. So it's possible that you could be that. It happens that we get that number. But when we do, we make sure to provide extra support and extra ICF certified TAs and that kind of thing to sit with you in class and help answer questions and provide support as you go. All right. How are we doing on time? We're good. We'll throw this one out here. Mostly just for fun. Like I mentioned, when we were in person, we really only had the Bay Area, local Sacramento, and then we had people who would make it a priority to fly in. We had a couple who would fly from DC every other weekend back and forth to do this program. We've had people from all over the world fly in and live in Sacramento for 6 months to take the program. So that's what we're used to. But then we moved online, and suddenly people in LA, people from all over California who were just a little too far, suddenly are able to participate, as well as people all across the United States. I happen to be on the East Coast today. Normally I live in California, but today I'm out here on the East, and we're still having this conversation. It's really cool. All right, so let's just take a quick look. Bay Area, man, it's split into like 1/3. We have folks right in Sacramento, 1/3 in the Bay Area, 1/3 in Southern California, which we didn't used to be able to provide classes for. And then, you know, my math's bad here. We have another chunk, not quite an equal one, outside of California. So we have folks here from all over the US and a good chunk of Californians, which is always awesome, but you don't have to be in California to do this program. Okay. Betty asked, does local mean Bay Area? Yeah, basically. Sacramento is where our original classrooms were held. as part of the Sacramento UC Davis campus, and we'd get a little bit from Northern California, but mostly Sacramento Bay Area. All right, we'll keep going here. Now we're going to talk about that program structure. Okay, you say, Heather, I like your philosophy. What's it actually going to be like? So we have two cohorts a year. So you are doing it as a cohort. You're with your team of people, all learning together. You move through 5 different classes all together, and you finish together. And we do that in the winter and again in the summer. And these classes happen on Fridays and Saturdays. And they are going to be from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. with lots of breaks and a lunch. And the instructors tell you at the beginning of every class, here's when our breaks are going to be for today. So you can plan, okay, I can take the dog out then, or I can check on so-and-so then. And this has been an iterative process with our students as we've learned how to really make a really rich online experience that supports our students, letting everybody know ahead of time it's a good thing. And so you'll be able to make a plan. And it is right now still all through Zoom. So you'll want to have a good connection and a dedicated space to sit class. People will ask, what kind of commitment do I have outside of class? What's the homework like outside of class? It's not very much. You have a full week in between these Friday, Saturday sessions. So you have plenty of time to do the readings or have a practice coaching session that then you're going to listen to and answer questions about, analyze, that kind of thing. You'd have this, that's the sort of homework that you have. It's not busy work. So, a couple of hours maybe, but you have more than a whole week to do it. But when it's class time, that is dedicated time. You really need to make sure to check the schedule and see that you'll be able to attend all the classes and that you don't have any other commitments pulling you away. We really recommend have that babysitter, have that time off from work. Do not try to double dip on your time here. You're spending a good chunk of money. You want to get that your best program out of that money. So you want to make sure on those days you're able to fully commit and be able to participate. All right, let's see. We have some questions. Move us to the next slide so you can take a peek at that. And let's see here. So a question about 5 consecutive weekends. No, it's not consecutive weekends. And these are our 5 classes with the names, but we can just move on to my next slide has the schedule. So I'll pull that up. This is the schedule, and you are absolutely welcome. Let me throw it in there again. Like I said, you'll get a copy of this recording that you can pause and take a look at. I also really encourage you to reach out to Christy and talk to her, get copies of the schedule, and use her as a resource in your planning. But this is our schedule. And then a question about what if you miss a day and is it recorded? These are great questions. Thank you, guys. So as you take a look at our schedule here, you can see that there are 5 different classes, and then we have 2 demo days, one here and one here. And these are special days. It's just a Saturday where the whole day is coaching practice. And you practice in front of each other, which can be nerve-wracking, but it's an amazing experience. You learn so much. But the actual classes, we've got essentials, competencies, your mindset, conversations, and mastery. And you'll see that basically the general formula is every other weekend. You'll have the 2 days of class, unless it's a demo weekend. So take a look at those actual dates and the numbers there, though, because things like holidays can mess us up and we have to put things back to back occasionally. So it's not an exact pattern. I once had somebody do their whole calendar every other weekend. And he's like, what happened? I thought it was every, I said, no, it's check the schedule, make sure that those dates you're good and ready to go. If you miss a day, that's okay. Life happens, things come in the way. We know that happens. The really important thing here is that you make it to at least, or miss, we'll put it this way, miss no more than 2 classes. If you miss more than 2 classes, you will not be able to apply for your ICF certification if that's something you're interested in, because you won't have enough hours and you won't be able to graduate the program. We have promised to the ICF that this program means you will sit through class and have the education of 150 hours. We've built in some wiggle room, so you have 2 mulligan days, but you don't want to miss. When I took the program, I missed 1 day, and I still think about it. I still regret. There are things my classmates told me about, and I got the notes and these sorts of things, but again, this is an experiential program. You are practicing. There is theory in coaching. It only gets you so far. You have to actually practice and realize this is a little bit harder than I expected it to be, or what have you. So you want to be there. If you know, I've got 2 weddings and something else in this time frame, let Christy know, let me know, and we can get you the summer schedule. Take a look at our summer schedule, see if that works better for your schedule. So, and is it recorded? Great question. No. And you say, oh my gosh, but I want the learning. The reason the classes are not recorded is, again, because it's open discussion, it's experiential. There are demonstrations. Coaches, instructors, certified coaches will ask for a volunteer, and you will see live coaching demonstrations in front of class. And there needs to be an assumed level of safety and confidentiality. So the classes are not recorded. And you may say, well, can we just break it up and record some and other? And there's spontaneity in this class. And so we have decided to go with no recording. And it's actually one of the first things that you create in your first part of the program is an agreement between the whole cohort. And you sit down and define, what do we all want to agree to in our behaviors, how we treat each other. Confidentiality always makes this list. So that's why the classes are not recorded. You'll always have access to all of the materials that were provided, the notes, the handouts, the PowerPoints, but the actual lectures itself and the discussions are recorded. How are we doing? Makeup classes. So we try, right? We try to provide you with makeup information, but ultimately, you're talking an 8-hour class, and we already have makeup classes in that there are 2 extra classes. And so if you go beyond that then you've used up all of our extra time we've added into the program. It is the way to think about that. That said, this is a program run by coaches for coaches. These are people who want to see you succeed. So my number 1 recommendation is talk to your instructors, work with your instructors. But the people who get the most out of the program are the ones who have made sure that if stuff happens, we'll work with you. So we'll say that. These are great questions. Thank you, guys. Can keep them coming. Just clear out some of those to make some room. Okay. Keep going. All right, so this is going to get into the logistics a little bit. What's it cost? That's always an important question. So it's $9,500. That is not the most expensive program on the market by far, not the second most either, or the third most. For what you're getting, we are a really well-priced program. Are we the cheapest program for a coaching program? No. But our program is both, if you're looking for the ICF, it gets you both ACC and PCC level content. So you won't have to go back and get more education. So be sure when you're comparing programs to look and say, how high of a level is this program? How much am I getting for my dollar? Additionally, we provide an exceptional level of support. So you can see here, what do you get? Number 2, what do you get for that money? So that's the tuition, obviously, paying our instructors, for their time, their development, etc. You get all the materials, you get textbooks mailed directly to you. Mentor coaching, so you have at least 3 sessions with mentor coaches who are certified by the ICF, and they don't mentor on like how to help start a business, but they mentor on your technique. So again, we are all about the skills, the technique, and that's provided as part of the program, which not all programs have done. You would have to get that after your program for another $2,000. So that's always been a part of our program. Our mentor coaches have been with us for a long time and know what they're doing as far as that style of mentoring and doing what ICF requires for the certification. We also provide client pairing. So some of you will come in and say, oh, I already have a whole bunch of people who I coach, or family members, or I'm a hairdresser, and so I have a bunch of people I can ask to practice with. I don't need any help there. Others will be like, I don't have a network like that built up yet. So it can be a little scary. Like, where do I find someone out there to start practicing on? We will give you that first client. We ask our community, and we say, hey, would you like free coaching? It's from our students who are learning. So you're getting free coaching, they're getting learning. Let's work together. So that's how we do our client pairing. You also get a Zoom Pro license for while you're in the program. And this is important because you'll be recording your practice sessions, of course, with permission of your client. And you'll be providing those recordings and transcripts, written transcripts to your mentors. You have to turn one in for your oral final. And again, these are all requirements of the ICF, which is one of our #1 requests of our students. Most of our students are interested in pursuing an ICF certification. So we take care of that so that you have a way to get those transcripts in addition to your recordings. It's really the transcript that can be hard to get. And your application fee, there's usually a $125 application fee for UC Davis. We throw that in there too. We waive that. All right, and you can see the current deadline to apply right there. I know we've had some questions thrown out there, so let's take a look. Let's see, we had something in the chat. What's the process of ICF certification after successful completion of this course? Great question. We have some slides coming up very soon where we'll go over that. So if I miss anything explaining that, let me know when we're talking about it. We can come back to it. And once you're certified, does it expire? Do you have continuing education requirements, etc.? So once you're certified for years, then you have to recertify, and you do have continuing education units, which can be really easily obtained if you're a member of a chapter of ICF. They're constantly having little 1-hour webinars and meetings where they provide educational content, and you can rack those up over your 3 years quite easily. But good questions. And then we had one more. I want to make sure I understand. Once I complete the UC Davis program, for example, if I want to get that PCC level, what do I need to do with additional costs or time for getting to that PCC? So again, we'll go over some details on this, but just to answer real quickly, you'll have the only extra cost you should have is to pay for the exam, and then you sit for the exam. And that's going to be to the ICF, not to us. So again, I'll say the same thing. Good question. When we talk about ICF, if I missed something or you have more questions, let me know. All right. And more logistics here. You can apply on our website. There's a nice big blue apply now button. It's free to apply. I'll say it again, free to apply. There's no cost. So hop in there, take a look, and you'll get a feel for what we're interested in. Really, it's not about accolades or what level of degree you have or experience already. One of my favorite people we had in the program was, a 32-year-old bartender from Old Town Sac. And he became an amazing coach because, of course, bartenders, that's what they do all day, right? That's the cliche anyways. What we're looking for with the application questions, what we're getting at, is really to get to know you as a person and see how coaching has interacted with your life. Whether or not it's like literal coaching where you paid somebody who was a coach and you sat down and you had a session. Some people have, that's amazing. If you haven't, you've been in situations where there has been this back and forth, right? Tell us about that. Give us examples of times when you've been on either side of the conversation. How did it go? What did it feel like? What was the outcome like? And how did you feel when that was happening? It's really about getting to know you as a person and how you will contribute to the cohort. So again, because this is an application program, we are able to build a diverse cohort of people who are excited to be there, excited to interact, excited to provide their presence and meet other people and learn from them, and really be an active, integral piece of this cohort. It doesn't mean you're an extrovert and that you really want to talk all the time. We've got plenty of introverts. So for anyone out there thinking, oh, no, we like introverts too. But that just gives you an idea. You can go in, take a look at the questions, and you'll see what we're getting at. And if you're not sure, feel free to reach out to Christy or submit your application. And if we don't have quite enough information, we might reach out and say, you know what? We really didn't get the info we were looking from you here. You know, expand on that. The other requirement is a work history. So we're looking for a 5 years of continuous work history. We don't care the field. It can be anything. But what we're really getting at there is just some life experience. And so that you're able to have a basis to relate to clients out there. Do you have to be an executive to coach an executive? No, not at all. But it just having some kind of work experience, we have found, really helps set up that background so that you can feel comfortable sitting across from somebody and helping them. Okay, so here are the 4 questions. Again, I'll just pause here, but you can open up an application for free and take a look at them. I recommend answering in a Word doc and then copy paste because computers. But these are the sorts of questions that you'll be asked. These are literally the 4 questions that you'll be asked. So there you go. All right, so this one, we are just about to talk about the ICF. So we're going to do another poll just so I can get a feel of where everybody's at, everyone who's with us today. So have you heard about the ICF? Maybe, but just a little, or you've never heard of this acronym and you're like, what are they talking about? That's fine too. Or everybody's like, yep, I know what it is. You don't need to go over it. I'm still going to go over it, but let's see where our group of folks are today. All right, awesome. So we have some folks who say yes. You actually got here because you went to their website. Fantastic. Other folks who know about the credential and want to pursue that. And then we have about an equal percent who have some familiarity or none at all. So we have a mix of folks in the room. So we'll go ahead and cover it. And if I go too fast or miss anything, feel free to let me know. Okay, so ICF, again, that's the International Coach Federation. If you haven't looked them up yet, I definitely recommend it. Whether you go with us or somebody else, they are an internationally recognized certifying body for coaching. So if you're going into coaching, you will see them again. And you will see them on Glassdoor and Indeed. And if you're looking to be hired on somewhere, you'll see requests for this certification. So where do we fit into this whole system? We are what's called an accredited coach training program, that's ACTP, and they're changing their terminology right now just to keep it confusing. So the new word will be level 2, is our style of program. So if you get something on your certificate that says ACTP, you say, oh my gosh, I'm 5 years down the road is when I'm doing my certification. Will it count for level 2? 100%. So you can look for those words on the website. What that means is you have to have 150 hours of academic coach training. You also have to have mentor coaching. And then we throw on that extra client pairing. And you can see here that there are 3 levels. We have our associate, that's your very first level. Then we have the professional, and finally the master certified coach. Most folks go ahead and start at the associate level, even though we certify you as your skill level is the middle level here, PCC. So what ends up happening is that you get your practice hours. So we do the training hours, but you have hours. You finish your practice hours, you apply for your ACC, you do more practice hours, and by practice hours, I mean that's legitimate. That can be legitimate coaching. You can have coaching for your job with a university or a hospital or your business or your family and friends. Any of those count. Once you reach the 500-hour mark, then you are allowed to apply for that middle level, that PCC. So again, that's 500 hours. I'll go ahead and move to our next slide because it outlines some of this. So those levels, the biggest determination is the hours of practice and how much education you've had. So our program gets you all the education you would need, those 150 hours. That's class time plus homework time. You do not need to augment the training hours at all. You are covered. Then the other kind of hours, there are 3 different kinds. So that's the training. We got you. The second kind are mentor hours. You have to have at least 10 mentor hours. Guess what? We got you. That's part of our program. You don't have to submit anything extra, just your UC Davis certificate. And they say, oh, well, we know that program includes your mentor hours. So check mark. The third kind of hours are those practice hours. That's your literal coaching. And that is something that you can get started doing from day 1 in the program. You only have to be in a program to start counting hours. So get started, but homework doesn't count because that's part of the training. So what you are responsible for are the practice hours. And you'll see programs out there that say, and we take care of your practice hours. What they're doing is saying, come back to us when you finished 100 hours and we'll give you your certificate. We just give you your certificate and say, get your hours on your schedule, however you like. You can go gangbusters and knock it all out in a couple months, or you can take your time and do it over 3 years. Totally up to you. So how many practice hours do we need? Good question. Let's take a look at this slide. So the blue line, that's the first level. So you need your coach training. We do that. You need completion of the program. We do that. Mentor coach hours. We do that. Reference letters. Absolutely. You can ask any one of your instructors or mentors. Super easy. Then you would take your exam. So what's left? This blue circle. So that's your coaching experience, or what I call practice hours. So you need 100 of them. You can absolutely 100 hours if you coach outside of class a few hours a week throughout the whole program. You're only going to need about a month of some intense coaching to finish all 100 hours. See people do it again and again and again. So if that's something you're interested in, like program certified, it's totally possible. And those hours are broken down. So you can see that they're broken down as Laura asked a question here. Of those 100 hours, you need 75 that are paid and 25 that are pro bono, free. So those two together equal your 100 hours. So it's a total of 100. And paid coaching, most coaches get a lot of those paid hours by doing what we call barter coaching. They call a classmate, text a classmate and say, hey, do you want to coach each other after class? Absolutely. I coach John for an hour. He coaches me. I pay him $5 for the session. He pays me $5 for the session. It's even. So we don't actually exchange any money, but it's a service for service. And that counts as a paid hour. So you can get a lot of hours by coaching coaches and practicing with coaches. Do you also want to get out there into the public and work with people who aren't coaches? Absolutely, 100%. It's a lot easier to coach a coach, somebody who's learning, than your general population. But it is a really good way when you're starting to start racking up those hours. So Laura, that is, it's only 100 total. All right, so that's for the blue stuff. And then there's the yellow stuff. That's the middle, the PCC. We take care of all that stuff too. So once you have your 500 hours in the blue circle, you can turn in your UC Davis certificate again and say, I have 500 hours. They'll say, congrats, you are now a PCC. It's quite that, it's literally that easy. If you coach for your job, you can absolutely count those hours, but only the ones from when you start the program. So if you've already been coaching for a long time, in your job, just however you might be coaching, you can't count those until you have started a coaching program. It doesn't have to be hours. If you took another coaching program back in the past that was ICF certified, that would be your starting mark. If this is your first coaching program, as it is for a lot of people, since we reach the core of coaching, your hours, even your work that you do at work, would start on January 31st or whatever day it is that we start class. Then you can start counting all of the hours you do at work, and you're compensated for that time, so those would count as paid hours. So hopefully, Rachel, that makes sense. I'm going to pause, check the chat as well. Okay, so we had those questions earlier about, what do? You finish the course, now what? So you finish our course, you get your UC Davis certificate of completion, and you finished your 100 hours. What you need to do is sit for the ICF exam. And excuse me, that's going to have a cost. I think it's up to possibly $300 for non-members now, but it's always good just to check the website. But you'll pay ICF in order to take that exam, and you'll take the exam. We have never had anybody fail, because you're learning those core competencies that will be evaluated throughout the entire program. So you become very comfortable with those. You take your exam, they say, you did awesome. Okay, here's your certification. So you're just turning in a UC Davis certificate and saying you have finished your 100 hours. They say, awesome, take this test. You pass. Here's your ACC. 500 hours later, well, actually 400, because you already have 100. So you add 4. Now you've got a total of 500 hours. You say, hey, ICF, I finished 500 hours. Here's my UC Davis certificate. They say, great, you already took the test. You don't have to take it again. Now you're a PCC. So that's how you get your credentials. And then, as somebody asked, might have been Rachel, once you have that credential, it lasts for 3 years, and then you need to renew, which is not hard, but basically you need to turn in proof that you've continued to stay up with the trends and the current science and things like that. You've done what they call the CCEUs, continuing coach education units. It's the same if you're a doctor or a nurse or a lawyer, and any number of professional guilds out there. They have continuing education units. And that is usually comes in the form of seminars, webinars, and like I mentioned, we don't get a kickback for mentioning ICF, but that is a great place to obtain those continuing education units. Is if you're a member of a local chapter, they'll have all kinds of events where you can collect those. And you say, okay, it's been 3 years. Here's my, I don't know, 44, I think is the current requirement. 44 education units. Renew my certification, please. They say, sure. All right, that was a lot, kind of fast. You go over it. We make sure that you have everything you need And if you join a local chapter, they have somebody special in every chapter whose responsibility it is to look at what you have and tell you what you need. So it's always a big source of anxiety for students, but do your best to trust us when we say it's not too complicated, especially if you use UC Davis, because we take care of everything. If you go somewhere else, you might have a few education hours, also need to find somebody to do your mentor hours, also need to do your exam and have somebody grade that, and then turn in all these pieces. But if you do UC Davis, they know that we've done all of that. So you just have to give your certificate. Okay. Being conscious of time, we have an alumni group. It's a fantastic way to get started on your business and network with people who are already doing their coaching, and maybe they know a good software for tracking things or a good place to advertise. So it's another way to stay networked and in with other coaches in the community. It's a private group. Only people who have gone through the program can get there. And we're near the end here. So this is one neat perk of our program. It actually articulates directly into a master's degree program. So if you already have a bachelor's degree, you can join the University of Pacific graduate program for a master's in leadership. And what you have left, they take all of your UC Davis classes as transfer credit, and what you have left are 7 classes and your capstone. So it's a time saver, it's a money saver. We have at least one student every single cohort take us up on this. The program says they love coaching students. Coaching is part of this degree, and they already know all about it. So if you're interested, we can absolutely get you connected with the folks over there who can talk about their program. It's also online and may have a couple weekends where you would come in for an intensive in location. And so that's something you can do. Here's some information on our financial aid. So you can either contact Christy and she will direct you to the right person, or if you're looking for loans, or maybe you have a veteran GI Bill or workforce initiative access, Suzette will work with all of those. We have a lot of GIs who come through the program. And then we also have some preferred lenders for student loans. If you need some cash up front, we do have some folks we work with. But it's a traditional private student loan. It's not like the FAFSA. They won't let us participate in a FAFSA type style loans. And we have a payment plan where you can pay just a chunk up front and pay another chunk later. So we try and make a lot of options out there so that to try and help you make this happen. All right, so some questions came in. Let's see what they were. The alumni group, yes, it's on Facebook and LinkedIn. So this year we are opening up our LinkedIn group. You can be a part of both or one or the other. But really, when we started this program, there wasn't LinkedIn, at least not in a way that anybody used it very much. It's that old. So we started with the Facebook group, and there are a bunch of people in there, but we're also recognizing LinkedIn is where it's at. That's where people are really advertising themselves. So we are getting that up and running this year as well. Okay, a bunch of stuff, info pointed at you. Thank you so much for taking your time with me today. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Let me grab Christy's info one more time. Pop it in there. And then any other questions, I'll stick around, but I want to be conscious of people's time. And thank you for joining us. If you need to pop off, that's great. Reach out with questions. Like I said, I love my coaching students and I love this program. So I'm really excited to maybe meet some of you in there. And I wish you a great, it's kind of evening for me over here on the East Coast. So have a great evening. And maybe we'll see you soon. Thanks, everybody. No more questions are coming in, so get in touch if there's anything that we can answer for you.